Iran has decided to send troops to Yemen. Iranian army will be in Yemen before the ground operation. Lebanon, Iran and Yemen signed a secret agreement before the Israel-Hamas war. Under the agreement, whichever country is attacked, other countries will support it. Iran knows that the US administration will not enter a war before the elections, because a war could turn into a crisis for the Democrats. Iran has therefore set up defensive positions in Yemen and Lebanon. The Great Middle East War is expected to start after the elections. The Houthi rebels in Yemen have gained prominence as Middle East tensions rise and the Red Sea scenario has gotten worse. The Houthis persist in their fierce campaign against military and commercial vessels in spite of the US and UK's intense military efforts, which have included a significant operation that has struck over 60 targets throughout Yemen. This persistent threat raises two crucial questions. First, given the Houthis' recent identification by the US as global terrorists, can US-led strikes effectively prevent and deter their increasingly audacious maritime attacks? Second, what impact will this protracted confrontation have on the stability of the Red Sea region, a crucial conduit for international trade, as well as the Houthis' greatly enhanced military capabilities with Iranian support? The US Navy's fourth set of strikes, which was a direct reaction to Houthis' actions, including assaults on US cargo ships, highlights these concerns. This heightened fighting, along with the Houthis' extensive armament, which includes everything from ballistic missiles to cutting-edge drones, highlights the situation's complexity and their increasing power. The US Navy began attacking the Houthis with a fourth round of attacks today. The actions come after the Houthis from Yemen launched 2 attacks on US cargo ships and after the US administration designated the Houthis as international terrorists. US officials claim that the US military used Tomahawk missiles fired from ships and submarines to launch a fresh round of missile strikes on areas under Houthi control during the course of the night. The US Central Command later declared that it destroyed dozens of terrorist locations in 14 Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen that were poised for fire, as well as 14 missiles backed by Iran. In the previous week, the US had launched 4 waves of strikes on the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Following the Houthi ballistic missile launches on US warships, other US ships, and cargo ships in the Red Sea yesterday night, the US Navy and Air Force launched their third round of strikes, hitting at least 4 Houthi ballistic missile sites. The Houthi headquarters and missile units were the targets of US airstrikes that used missiles provided by Iran. Although there has been limited information about the US strikes, evidence from the Sanaa al-Khoulis suggests that tens of thousands of Houthi fighters have been killed due to the airstrikes. The US Navy retaliated for the Houthis' 2 consecutive attacks on US cargo ships by using ballistic missiles and drones carrying bombs. Attacks during the night also damaged the arsenals of combat drones and Houthi ballistic missiles. The US finally lost interest in the Houthi after it attacked US cargo ships and fleets. In actuality, Iran is no different. Iran-backed Houthi forces have attacked US warships and cargo ships for the past week, placing Iran in a precarious situation. Reports from backstage in Tehran state that Iran holds the recalcitrant Houthi commander responsible for the losses. Iran has even made fictitious attempts to tidy up the mess the Houthis left behind. Iran made an effort to draw attention to Syria, Iraq, and Pakistan 2 days ago. But in the process, the Houthis lost their minds and attacked the US ships once more. These forceful actions by the US rebuffed Iran's attempts to deflect attention, increasing Iranian lobbying efforts. Now that US warships, submarines, and fighter jets have launched their most recent attacks, the US administration is announcing that it is ready to strike back against Iranian proxies. It's uncertain what cards Iran will play, how the Houthis in Iran will respond, and how the US Navy will get ready for the changing circumstances in the Middle East. The missiles are an immediate threat, according to a statement from CENTCOM, and the strikes will make it more difficult for the Houthi to carry out their rash attacks on commercial and international ships. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder said the US would use the military to end Houthi violence. They are using this opportunity to attack ships and boats from over 50 countries. We will communicate with regional allies to deter these strikes. Israel has personally attacked the Houthis 4 times in Yemen to thwart their attacks on the Red Sea and Suez Canal during its war with Hamas. Recently, US operations on Arabian sailing ships found ballistic missile elements Iran may have brought to Yemen. The seizure left 1 US Navy SEAL missing as a wave drove it overboard, while the other followed the overpowering SEAL into the water. The US then strongly warned Iran to stop arming Houthis. Several mishaps have occurred since the US began Houthi operations over the weekend. The US Navy downed Houthis' anti-ship cruise missile. The Houthis attacked an AUS ship near the Gulf of Aden on Monday and a Maltese bulk tanker in the Red Sea on Tuesday. As revenge, the US shot down 4 anti-ship ballistic missiles, endangering commercial and Navy ships. Houthis claimed the numerous flagged bulk carriers Ographia attack. The spacecraft continued after being hit by a one-way assault drone, since no one was hurt. A one-way attack drone from Houthi-controlled Yemen in the Gulf of Aden destroyed the Marshall Islands flagged US-owned and managed MV Genco Picardy the day before. The US redesignated the Houthis as specially designated global terrorists, prompting the attacks. US President Joe Biden imposed economic sanctions on violent extremist groups. In the final days of the Trump administration, the US declared the Houthis worldwide terrorists on January 10, 2021. The group's years-long civil war against Saudi Arabia-backed Yemeni authorities causes the region's humanitarian crisis. The U.S. State Department under President Joe Biden delisted the Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization and removed the SDF categorization in February 2021 to improve Yemen's aid delivery. Although U.S. and UN peace efforts failed, the Houthis expanded their territory in Yemen between February 2021 and April 2022. Caviar Tanisha, an Observer Research Foundation Strategic Studies Program fellow, said Houthis' refusal to support Yemenis pushed the Biden administration to remove them from the terrorist list in February 2021. This aided the Saudis, who had been talking and would have fought the Houthi family in 2015. Tunisia reported a truce, and internationally recognized Yemeni President Abdurrahman Mansour Hadi handed over power to a presidential council in April 2022. Despite its flaws, the truce continues, and the two sides are swapping prisoners. Just hours before Tunisia characterized the event as a direct outcome of the Houthi campaign against foreign vessels in the Red Sea, the White House called the Houthis a global terrorist outfit. Asian to European commodity transport prices have risen by up to 60% due to the Houthi attack on commercial cargo vessels in the Red Sea Freight Corridor, which represents 12% of global maritime trade. The online logistics marketplace Container Exchange leases and trades containers. Years of Saudi-sponsored diplomacy culminated in a Yemeni civil war ceasefire in April 2022. Justar Hilterman claims the Houthis and US sponsor Saudi Arabia are aggressively negotiating Saudi Arabia's withdrawal from Yemen. Nominating someone now is wrong. We believe these designations are counterproductive as terrorist group, a very politicized term, has a broadly recognized definition, said International Crisis Group's Middle East and North Africa Program Director Pilcherman. The U.S. has formed a multinational naval task force to battle Yemen's most potent war machine, the Houthi, which threatens Red Sea commerce lines. Hilterman said the Biden administration won't identify groups without cause. Weeks before Hamas struck southern Israel on October 7, sparking the region's deadliest conflict in years, the Houthis conducted a parade in Sana'a, Yemen's capital. The march included an armed, irregular army. Mi-8 cargo helicopters and Mala boats planted explosives on the water. The Houthis' attack trade routes include air power and sea mines. Houthi assets include SAMs, radar, T-55 tanks, and improvised armor. The Houthi uses Tochka ballistic missiles and F-5 supersonic light fighters. They have passive infrared surveillance systems, drones, loitering bombs, Iranian Shahab-3 Gundar missiles, an unknown number of 1,400-kilometer range Rakib drones, and Haitim, Haybar, Shikan, and Badr-4 ballistic missiles. Houthis' tremendous weaponry increase defines Iranian support. Tehran claims the Houthis are a growing Shiite group fighting Israel and the U.S. Iran's institutional and structural backing gave the Houthis drones, underwater weaponry, and ballistic and anti-ship missiles. Without Iran, this would not have happened. While watching this dangerous situation, the world asks if military action and sanctions can end Houthis' operations and their repercussions on regional and global security.